The question we really need to address is the idea that we should have an announcement from, well, it's a summit in Downing Street with police chiefs who are unveiling plans how they intend to tackle shoplifting. It soared by a quarter of the last year. I think it's probably soared by a lot more than that, but no one bothers reporting these crimes anymore. But the idea that they are going to attend every shop robbery, the idea that that's a legitimate headline is quite bizarre. Who decided that the police wouldn't attend every shop theft or robbery?
Well, it certainly wasn't the retailers, that's for sure. But, you know, we will welcome this announcement that they are putting a greater focus, a greater prioritization on retail crime. It's sad that that has only come as a result of the, soaring figures of theft and of violence and abuse, which is happening in retail right now. But we do welcome this reprioritization that the police have announced.
Yeah, I mean, I love the reprioritisation. It's wonderful language, isn't it? It's just someone's committed a crime, the victim of the crime calls the police, you expect the police to turn up. I mean, mind you, given that they were not turning up to burglaries for quite a long time, and I think even now, it's still question mark, people in their own home, their personal effects taken, I suppose it shouldn't be a surprise. I've spoken about this many times on the show, quite a long time now, about local shopkeepers in my area, and I've asked other people to get in touch. They say exactly the same when it's their shop or their local high street, and they've spoken to people who work there or their store managers. It is now so routine that people just come in, shoplift with impunity. If it's under £200 in value, it used to be 100, but now it's £200 in value. Basically, worst case scenario, even if the police did turn up, even if you did get arrested, even if you did get charged, and again, we're talking tiny percentages at that point, you'll basically end up with a slap on the wrist and a £70 fine. You've stolen £199.99 worth of goods, and then you got a £70 fine. You're quids in, aren't you? I mean, you've already made money at that point. There is no deterrence to shoplifting anymore.
Well, I think this is why we clearly need, for one, a new standalone offence. And this new standalone offence is particularly around the violence and abuse that surrounds shoplifting, because understandably, sometimes people will step in, they want to try and stop shoplifters. There ends up being some kind of altercation or simply the threat of altercation. Yeah. People are threatened, sometimes with weapons. And it's that violence and abuse which is really worrying for people who are, teenagers in their first jobs, yeah. Often mothers returning to the workforce, people looking at that part-time work, and they shouldn't have to be subject to that kind of torrent of violence and abuse.
Absolutely. Well, even the security guards, I've spoken to a couple of security guards, really big, burly guys, but they're just like, OK, so I tackle someone, they're violent, I don't know if they've got a weapon or not, the police are not going to turn up, even if we call for them, I might end up injured, I don't get paid, I could get arrested and charged myself. There's just a general feeling of like, it's not worth my while. But we've seen in America what's happened, where we've just got, mass organised crime of shoplifting on a grand scale, to the extent that well-known department stores have just said, we're shutting up shop, we can't make money. We've had the likes of Waitrose in recent months saying, oh, we're going to offer free coffee to police officers so they'll actually come in the shop and we can have that police presence to deter. I mean, lots of shops can't afford to do that. All offer you free goods. They shouldn't be offering free goods to police officers. They should be paying for everything like everyone else, in my view. But as you say, it's not just about people taking goods, which is someone else's property. It is that threat of violence. And that's where the organised criminals come in, isn't it? This is done on a grand scale. It's not just some bloke who's living on the street coming in, stealing something. It's not just a mum who's struggling for cash, stealing nappies. It's high-end goods, it's expensive goods, it's alcohol, sometimes it's steaks, it's things like that. And they're being basically stolen to order and then sold on the black market.
And if people feel like they can thieve with impunity, then they'll carry on doing it and the situation will get worse. And that's exactly what we've seen. People finding that actually you can go to a shop, you can take a lot of stuff and the police will barely investigate it at all. You feel like you can get off scot-free, and that expands the problem. So we do need this focus on retail crime. It will help with other issues such as gang theft and organised crime. Yep. So that's a step in the right direction. Some people do seem to think that retail crime or retail theft is some kind of victimless crime, but every single one of us pays for it.
Yes.
We spend almost £1 billion a year is lost to retail crime directly, and about another 720 million a year on the crime prevention, the security on doors, the CCTV, the body cams and whatnot. And put that together, you've got 1.7 billion. Where does that come from? Well, that ends up pushing up prices for the things we all buy. So everyone pays from the decisions of a few to steal.
Yeah. Just finally, Tom Holder, do you think the government is now listening? They've got to grips with this and that they are going to make a difference?
Well, I can only hope that this is the beginning of a much more productive relationship. We've seen things like Project Pegasus coming in place and retailers and the police working together. What we really need, and what we did hear an announcement from the Labour Party at their conference, was the announcement of a standalone offence for those that are violent or abusive against shop workers on the front line, like we have in Scotland. And that would mean not only do we have a greater deterrent, but also the police would be forced to count and measure and, you know, run KPIs against their success with stopping that.
I'm not hopeful that it's a new law. I think we just need to enforce the law we've actually got.